All right, guys, just wrapped up a really fun podcast with Brandon Waddell from Mountain Archery Fest. He's putting on some insanely cool 3D archery events around the country. One thing we talked about at the very end that I'm bringing up now because it's incredibly important is if you go to the Mountain Archery Fest website, mountainarcheryfest.com, and enter the code Vortex24, you're going to get 15% off. That's the best discount that Brandon offers. So mountainarcheryfest.com, enter code Vortex24 for 15% off. And all that's left to do is listen to this cool podcast, get fired up, and sign up. What is up, everybody? Mark on the mic here. Now, it's never too early to start thinking about bow hunting. And practice makes perfect. But fun practice makes even more perfect. And to talk a little bit about some fun practice and the Mountain Archery Fest events, plural, we have Mr. Brandon Waddell joining us virtually to talk about his events, the Mountain Archery Fest events, what they entail, crossover between the events and becoming a better bow hunter and having a good time along the way. So, Brandon, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Mark. I really appreciate it. Good afternoon.
What was the impetus for you, this series of really cool events?
Well, when I picked up a bow about 15 years ago, it just encapsulated me. The world just quit spinning. It was just me, my bow, the focus, the reaction, and it just brought me to a new space that I'd never felt before. And I dived in and quickly was just consumed by archery, geeked out like you wouldn't believe. And before you know it, I just felt really compelled to move forward in building Mountain Archery Fest because I felt there needed to be a real heavy inclusive component to a national 3D shoot, something that had inclusion all the way down to people who are handicapped in chairs, different things, and no matter the skill level, the age, or the ability, I wanted to offer something for everybody. And I just felt that was missing on the landscape. Very cool, man. Very cool. Well, it's an event that's grown, or like I said, events plural, that's grown over time. If you can, tell us a little bit about what they entail, because it's like you have the the umbrella of a Mountain Archery Fest event, but it's like there's several events within the event as well. That's correct. Within our recreational event of the weekend, right? You can come and shoot, have fun all weekend for 3 days. But we also do have a bow hunter comp on Saturday morning. We have a hunt, lift, eat, and mountain challenge also at 3:00 in the afternoon on Saturday. And then we have a cornhole tournament following that. So, Saturday is just a day of competition. Bring your A game, show up at whatever you're best at. Friday is more of our inclusive family day. So we have an archery tag, fun afternoon and evening, and then which the kids usually totally dominate, Mark. They can hide so well behind the barrels, so, and they move a little quicker than some of us as we get a little bit older. And then, of course, we follow that with our stories and s'mores, where we have a guest speaker, a couple bonfires, s'mores out for everybody to sit around the campfire and enjoy a really good story of maybe possible life lessons, spiritual movement, archery journey. Every event has a unique individual that speaks. So, then we fast forward back to Saturday night social. We do an awesome spread there. We give away tons of stuff. We have a silent auction. We have a live auction. And it's where we just all come together after a great weekend of being a family, being a community. And we show up there and we put back a few beers and win some stuff and talk about, what we got coming up. Hunts, maybe other family vacations we have, or just catching up with each other, who we haven't seen, or meeting some new people. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. You mentioned, like family. Sounds like a lot of camaraderie. It sounds like there's a lot to the event
just, outside of just, hey, let's go fling some arrows and shoot some cool targets. What, with it being a multi-day event, it sounds like there's even like some camping options there, or even like some specialized camping options. What's going on there?
Absolutely. From the top, we have our elk camp experience, which is a highly catered to 12 individuals. We have 3 seek outside tents with cots, pads, all set up for you, stoves in them. If you want to have a little campfire experience in there, try out these tents and see what they're all about. But then we have a campfire ring in the middle, and that camp signifies being at elk camp. So you have an option of waking up to a bugle from me if you want in the morning. I cook for you on Thursday night. I was a prior chef. I've done a lot of high end cooking in my career. I also cook for a very high end lodge in the off season in New Mexico, and so I'll be creating you dinner on Thursday night. Me, your CEO chef, and I just enjoy that piece. I get to meet everybody, and I get to really kind of absorb what they're up to and who they are and what makes them tick. And then it's an all-inclusive package, the elk camp experience. So it comes with all your meals, comes with all your shooting for 3 days, comes with $50 worth of novelty money, a hat and a t-shirt from merchandise, as well as an Onyx premium subscription. And we just keep adding more stuff to it. We got a sweet little goodie bag when you show up that has some different stuff from some of our other sponsors. And it's a cool experience. But then if that's not your jam, then we have on-site RV camping and tent camping at a very affordable family rate. $35 for an RV for the weekend, $20 for a tent. And, we provide porta potties at every one of them. But then a few select locations, we have showers. So as the camping bolster grows a little bit, then we'll have showers across the board. But so it's a great opportunity for you to come and just immerse yourself in the event. You don't have to leave. You don't have to get in your car and go anywhere. You can just really enjoy the weekend and enjoy the community and the family.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome. I was poking around on the website too, and it seems like, you could be an individual and participate in the event. You could be a family and participate in the event. You could have a group of just buddies go, and there's kind of like customizable packages that cater to a person and maybe where they're at in archery itself, but also just like how they want to enjoy the event.
Yeah, there's lots of options there through registration. And there's always a few single spots in the early launch times, which is pretty cool. So if you come by yourself, just jump in. I have never met anybody yet in 6 years that if they jumped in as a single didn't come away with new friends, new knowledge, and new experiences from it with hanging out with some new people. And then of course we do have a family plan, which is on the website, which is a great opportunity to take advantage of. It gives you a set price for 2 adults, 2 teens. And of course, all kids 12 and under are free at Mountain Archery Fest. So that is a killer option because they are what is going to be bringing up our community in the future. And so we want to offer them that opportunity. And of course, you can customize kind of your time at MAF based on the courses that we offer too, right? So we have a cool fantasy course, which is kind of a kid's course, really cool exotic targets, crazy stuff. But it is pinned for an adult too. And so you can go do that as a family to kind of get started, see how you're doing. It's I wouldn't call it a beginner course, but it's surely got a lot of variety in it for you to kind of seek out where you're at. And then from there, you step up to our famous world record course where we have replicas of some of the Pope and Young world records and a couple others from around the world that have been put on top of these foam animals. They come with an awesome sign next to the target that talks about the species, the health, where they're at demographically, and just some cool knowledge bombs about what conservation and our model here in North America has done to create these amazing animals that you get to see and even touch and check out. They're some of them will blow you away. Most of them will blow you away. Where you look at them, you touch them, and you can't believe it's a replica, right? You've seen high-end awesome mounts where they replicate them, and they're just amazing. And so that's kind of what we consider a beginner course, because the testament to those hunters, the longest shot on that course is 54 yards. So all the way down to 3 yards on a moose, which is kind of like you stand next to that big old moose and that big old paddles, man. It's like Could you imagine that thing coming in and grunting at you at 3 yards and you shoot it? So it's a cool course. And then from there we step up to our bow hunter course, which is, we can get into that a little bit more in a second about the bow hunter comp, but that's a really great course, designed to simulate some great hunting shots that you would be taking in the field. Some of them are shots I've made. Some are shots that my teammates have made, some that they've missed. For the last couple of years, we've had a 51-yard coos deer out of a blind on that course because yours truly missed a booner at 51 yards out of a blind. So I set that shot up so that I remind myself every time I shot it that was my practice for 2 years. And thank goodness I took the monkey off my back a little over a month ago. So then from there, we move up to our exotics course, which is a fantastic course. It starts stretching you out a little bit, maybe out to a 100-yard shot on a zebra. And these targets I bring in from South Africa, and they're super cool. Lots of cool exotics. Then the next course up is our carbon TV course, which is like, that's the one where you're watching you're watching narrows fly away. Okay. You're hitting, you're chopping wood, you're shooting long distances, 65 to 140, 150. We've got this awesome T-Rex. Her name is Esther, and we usually put her out way out there. And then we've got this awesome 12-foot alligator that is just incredible. Then we usually tuck him out somewhere for a little poke too. And so, it's a very unethical course, but you see the transition as you work from the fantasy course clear to this carbon TV course. There is something for everybody to work through in distances and angles. As we go up in the courses, you start getting a little bit more quartering two, a little more angles, so everything is an opportunity to graduate up through your level of shooting and your comfort in your gear. So, it gets you in a really good headspace, and gets you in a great position to go out in the field.
Well, it sounds like it's a bit of a choose your own adventure type thing. Like, maybe if you don't have a slider that's going past 100 yards and you're brand new, you're like, well, maybe not for me today.
Right.
But if you want to do the other courses, you can stick to that. It's kind of like you go to the ski hill. It's like, you're not going to be doing the double black diamonds your first day out sort of thing.
Correct. That's exactly what it's embodied on. And at one point, I even about 4 years ago thought about making our courses designed like that: green, blue, double blue, black, double diamond. Because when we were primarily on ski resorts, that really made sense. But as we moved around the country, we just started finding locations that we felt exploited what was offered in that state, and not every state has a chairlift in a mountain. So, my crew that sets targets are the best at what they do. When we show up at a resort or out on a property, we scour that place, and we come in multiple times ahead of the event to look at the properties, walk the properties, find the uniqueness that we can exploit on these courses, so that we can lay the courses also from that fantasy course to extreme on different levels of terrain. So not only is your shooting changing along the way, but so is your terrain capability. So it's a whole dynamic process.
I mean, yeah, you're talking about regionality a little bit. I mean, from Kentucky to Colorado, you have a lot of events throughout the country for a person to have access to. It's not like, well, I live over here, so nothing's in my area. I mean, you have a lot of different courses that cover a good part of the U.S. And I would think too, like, when you're creating those courses, if it's somebody who's more local to that region, they're going to be experiencing types of shots with similar terrain that they might find where they hunt, or similar trees or foliage or different things that they might have to contend with. Would that be the case?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when we came east, it was a whole new thing for us. Like, me and my crew, we'd never hunted in the east, in Georgia, Kentucky, Pennsylvania. So these hardwoods and a lot of these sucklings and just all this density was a whole new animal for us even to set up courses. But it was really cool to see the dynamics that around the country that everyone contends with. Now, I haven't been to the northwest yet to be in that jungleness, but we do have a good variety going right now, and we're just getting started, Mark. I've got a handful of other locations on the docket ready to go as soon as we can get our bandwidth um, broad enough to get to all of them in a time frame of summer. So yeah, it's a challenge. It's interesting to move around the country and see how people adapt. Like when we first went east, when we got to Georgia, it's a monster property. So we just spread it out. Like we had courses that were probably longer than normal for most southeasterners, right? And so we heard about it. We had a couple that were a little long, and people were like, man, that's a long way. Like we just don't have to walk that far to go to a tree stand or go to our property or to have access. And I'm like, for us in the West, we don't really have to either. I mean, let's think about that. I mean, you can go a mile into a trailhead and run into elk, but at the same time, though, most of us realize that we want to be a mile or two from the trail. So so it's a cool thing even for us personally to go and be a part of, let alone the locals and the people that travel around the country with us to shoot. We've got people coming out of Utah, coming to Georgia this year. They're super excited, and vice versa. And, everybody thinks that everyone wants to go west, but what's cool is we've got a lot of Westerners that now are wanting to go east and check it out.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, and you also have a bit of a finale, if you will. What's going on with the Derek Wolf Invitational?
So the Derek Wolf Invitational is a really cool situation. So I heard Derek on Dan Stanton's podcast, and he was talking about getting Boys and Girls Club kids in Denver out to shoot bows. And I was just like, man, that hits me. Like, I want to make something happen there. And so I knew that he had the Wolfpack Foundation that he runs, that he's been doing in Denver since he became a Denver Bronco. And he does amazing stuff all over the city and the state. And so I approached him and said, why don't we put together a shoot where we can bring in people and do an invite only. It's not cheap to get in, but it's all going to the Wolfpack Foundation. And then can we take a portion of that money and get into, the Boys and Girls Club or other organizations within Colorado and get these kids that don't have these opportunities outside, get bows in their hands? Because if you shoot a bow, how valuable that can be for a kid and the things that it teaches them. So, we wanted to create that opportunity. So we started talking about it. And before we know it, we also decided that we were going to work on the hunting ban in Colorado. So, that is near and dear to us, obviously living in Colorado, but at the same time, this is going to set precedent across the country. And so it's a very, very important battle that we're up against here. So we're created this event, and we're going to take that money, and that's the action plan behind it. But what a cool component to it is that really relates to Mountain Archery Fest is that we do a bow hunter competition at each one of our events, like I mentioned earlier, on Saturday morning. And first place, men's, women's, and youth will get an invite to that event. And within that event, we have ponied up $7,500 first place, $3,000 second place, and third place is $1,500. And then we also, the top 5 shooters of each one of those categories will go into a shoot-off in our practice and novelty range to highest score wins. And we have an alpha wolf package for each class. And this comes with backpacks and weapons and tents and I mean, almost everything but the campfire, if you will. And so it's an amazing opportunity to come out and have a great time and see where you stack up across the country as a first place shooter from our prior 8 events. So it's a pretty cool thing. And all this has reason behind it for 2025. Some cool stuff that we're going to be bringing to the country in 2025 that has to do really with our bow hunter comp. So that bow hunter comp is kind of unique in the sense that we don't have traditional scoring rings on these animals. So your IBO, your ASA, your universals, they're not on the sides where they're typically going to be. These animals are set with 2 rings, one being a heart, the other being lungs, and they are placed all over the animal based on your entry to get to the heart and the lungs, like for a real bow kill. And so that's something that differentiates us a little bit around the country. But, next year we've got a whole new thing coming where there won't even be rings on it. We're going to be using some cool technology that will totally show you what you got by just, well, I can't let the cat out of the bag too far, but basically all our scoring is done electronically at our bow hunter comp. It's all on your phone. It's really simple. It's an app that you type it all in. At the end, it formulates it. When you get back to us, it launches all that information to us, and we have our placements immediately as soon as the last group gets in. We don't have to wait and work through paper cards and who's who and is this right and all that stuff. And then in 2025, we're going to be doing a real series comp across the country that will basically give points to each and every person, 1 through 20, and we'll take the top 40 at the end of the year, and we'll have a 3-day massive competition shoot off. So, this is all kind of planned working pieces to kind of put it all together. But in the whole, the Derek Wolf Invitational is a long answer, but the Derek Wolf Invitational is going to be an amazing opportunity for some cool people, I think, and we're going to really enjoy taking that money and putting it into good effort.
No, it sounds super cool. And like you said, it's doing some, ultimately going to do some really, really important work. I'm glad you touched on the bow hunter comp because I really wanted to hit on that. And it's just something that I find, very unique about your events. Just taking, we're shooting 3-dimensional targets, and these animals are 3-dimensional, and you encounter them at varying angles in the field. And I just think that oftentimes when maybe we're scoring something, we're not taking those angles into account, and so I really like you having that, hitting on that component, because I think practice, and I could shoot my bow a lot more than I do, but practicing in that manner, I think, makes you a better shot in the moment, in that moment of truth, when you see the animal, and you're just used to aiming where you'd want to aim to kill that animal and do it as quickly as possible.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that shooting at a silhouette is so important in how it translates to the field. And then, of course, shooting a silhouette. I mean, I don't know how many times that I've looked at an animal and I shoot, and then and I kill this animal, harvest it, and then I realize, wow, I didn't realize it was quartering away that much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, I thought it was pretty much broadside, but then when you see your entry and your exit, that arrow, then the truth comes to you, right? And being able to see how an arrow works in and out, and understanding those angles is very important to the lethality that you are putting within that shot. And so I think that this type of practice and this type of competition, really raises your game to understand what that looks like in a real world scenario and outcome. So, we truly believe that this kind of scoring system and this type, so to kind of go through that with the rings and things, the main heart diameter of the circle depends on the size of the target, like 2 inches for small game, 4 for medium, 6 for big. And then your other vital rings are 10, 14, 18. Consider an elk is, a large animal has about an 18-inch kill zone, really. The lungs are as big as where the ribs are. Most things that you see that are drawn, they seem to cut down and leave all this rib section. And that's not really true. Wherever there's ribs, there's lung. And so then with that, you get 12 points for the heart shot, 10 for the vital ring. And then if you don't hit inside that vital ring, then you get a -5.
Ooh.
Because that's the reality of bow hunting. If you don't get a vital shot, then you have made a negative impact on this animal and the community of these animals, right? So yes, it'll probably die. Yes, the circle of life will happen, but from our standpoint of being a good hunter and a conservationist, and someone who cares about this animal, we really do, even though we harvest them. That's an important thing to realize. So, and then of course, if you miss the foam altogether or you don't take the shot, then that's a 0. So there's some strategy sometimes, because look, sometimes you got to let down because you can't make that shot. And that's better than a -5. So, there's lots of componentry and strategy in this that work towards building a better bow hunter that's more confident and more knowledgeable and more, capable at when they pull the trigger, they're confident in what they're doing. And, and it really allows you to learn your equipment as well. I mean, there's a lot of componentry in this, that in the idea of how we're building this. So even when you come to shoot, all of our courses, even for fun, are all given, each time we set a target, we give that target a par, okay, on what you should probably shoot on average on that target. So it could be a 5.8 because it's super hard. It could be an 8.6, or it could be a 10, or it could be 11. But we utilize 6 environmental parameters and 6 mental parameters in building that par for that each individual target. And then of course, then at the end, you also have a par for that course. So you can see where you kind of fit in the realm of a par bow hunter. And so just a really cool thing that we've been working on for a couple of years, that we kind of beta tested a little bit last year, and that we're really launching this year. We learned a lot about our app and some things we need to fix, and some on-mountain twerks and tweaks and things. So the bow hunter comp is very unique. There's nothing like this in the country that offers that kind of scoring, that kind of parring system. And then, even as we move forward, that parring system actually can create a handicap. So it's something that we can play later. And a lot of people are probably hearing lots of terminology that come from golf, and you're absolutely right. There you go. It has the same kind of perspective and scoring and mentality built behind the background.
What I do like about the scoring, and you touched on this, but it really is reflective of the bow hunting experience. It's like, man, if you make a perfect kill shot, you are high on life, highlight of the year, let's call the buddies. If you miss, it's like, oh, darn it, that sucks, and that'll eat at you.
That's right.
But if you hit one and lose it, oh, that's like, it's the worst, and that scoring system, although, you don't have the the repercussions on the level of potentially losing the animal in the field, it still reflects that. You talked a lot about the targets. How many targets on average are in each course? Like, how many arrows is a person going to fling in a day?
Well, so we used to do 25 per course and then 29 on our world's course. But we've whittled it back to 20 per course as of last year. As we're moving around the country, it's just a lot more weight, a lot more. And then as we got east, we realized we couldn't stuff 25 in some places, and especially 29. And so that seems to be a nice average that we found. And, and we bring targets in from South Africa. We bring stuff in. I've got a few targets from Italy. I've got a lot of targets from Austria. And then we have just a few American made targets. So, I mean, most of what you're going to shoot at Mountain Archery Fest is a lot of stuff you've never shot before. And what's interesting, and I'll kind of highlight, a lot of these European, especially the Austrian targets, they don't bow hunt there.
Oh, right.
So just a heads up to everybody, they don't put the rings really where they're supposed to be. So, so when you shoot a 12 ring and you come back and tell me that it's in the shoulder, yes, it is in the shoulder. They just stamp them in the molds, and that's where they put them. So I used to run those a lot in my comp, because everybody here is used to shooting your Reinhardts, your Deltas, and they know exactly where that 12 or 14's at. But on these Kirsch targets, you really had to make and concentrate on making a shot at where that 12 was, because it wasn't in the pocket. And you get used to it. I don't know about you, but like when I shoot at ungulates, it's really hard for me to think in the pocket, because I always go for a great double lung shot. And so I just always creep up into that little bit higher, 2/3 up double lung shot. So I don't ever score well on ungulates, North American ungulates. So if you're ever shooting against me, no, that's my downfall. Um, but yeah, and the bow hunter comp also comes with a couple rules that we should talk about. And that is that we don't have an open class or an outlaw class or, Olympic recurve, none of that. It is straight up bow hunter setups. Okay. So compound bow only, must be a hunting setup. No target bows are allowed. 15-inch front stabilizer max, 12 side. Now that is your bar length, not your adapter, not your weights, bar length. And then you can have fixed pins or movable, because I've been hunting with a single pin movable for 10 years. I mean, a lot of us have made that transition. And then, of course, no bow mounted electronics, no lighted pins, no auto ranging bow sights, etc. Because to keep the playing field even from state to state to state, we basically have to go with Colorado kind of standards where, you can't have any of that. No magnifiers, clarifiers, or verifiers, no lighted nocks, and hunting arrows only. They got to be 5/16, 7.94 millimeter or less. No logs shooting at the event to grab lines. Just be authentic to yourself. The whole idea of coming to this event and shooting the bow hunter comp is for you to get better as a bow hunter. There's no reason to try to cheat the system, because you're just cheating yourself.
I like it. Now we have a bit of a promo going on with you guys for this event.
That's a fact.
Which I'm excited about, and hopefully a lot of the folks out there are excited about one of these events. So let's talk a little bit about that. What's going on with the promo, Brandon?
Well, we have, Vortex has been a vital part to our growth and who we are as the American blue collar bow hunter. And, we're just so thankful for the opportunity that they give us every year, and the opportunity to get high quality glass with the best warranty in their hands for them to experience the outdoors and do their very best with. And so we've come back with a 15% off code, Vortex 15. And it is, did I say it right? Did I get the right one?
I think this year it's Vortex 24 for 15%.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I knew I had it kind of, Vortex 24 for 15% off. And there is nowhere else you're going to find 15% off. No magazine, no other ads we do. The highest we give away is 10. We have some current stuff running at 5% on our East Coast stuff if you're finding it on Instagram or Facebook, but 15 is it. And that's a great opportunity to come out and have a great time with us at Mountain Archery Fest.
Very cool, man. Very cool. Well, I love it, man. I need to make some time and get out to one of these things. I haven't yet, and they sound like a blast. And I know, we've got some even in our area this year. So, golly, hopefully I can get out and, like I said, make the time to do it, because, God, they just sound like a really, really cool event. How many folks are you getting at these events? Like, how many people are turning out on average?
On average, last year we had about 700 across the board on average for the weekend.
Unbelievable.
Registration is ramping this year. It's really great. So we're blessed to be having the opportunity to grow. I can host up to about 1,600 is kind of where I like to be, because I like people to be able to go out on these courses and have a great experience. We put people in groups of 6. We launch them at certain times for a very specific reason, because we want people to go out and enjoy their shoot and have a great time of experience through it. And then also to where you're not running into a group of 12 or a group of 20 and getting backed up and having to skip a target that you wanted to shoot because we want you to have value in what you're paying for with us. So we want you to be able to shoot 2 courses a day. If, I got some people that'll shoot 3 if they get the earliest launch time in the morning, and they just work and shoot, and they don't lollygag around. For a $75 one-day ticket, if you can shoot 2 courses and enjoy some of our sub events in the evening, then it's very well worth what you're paying. If you can shoot 3, imagine there's some places in the East you can go shoot 20 targets for $25, certainly. But at the caliber of how we set courses and the caliber of animals that we're bringing in for you to shoot, definitely not. And that's a unique piece for Mountain Archery Fest and my crew too, is that when we show up to a location for the second, third, fourth, fifth year, we move courses around, we move animals around. There might be a couple shots on that course that are the same because they're epic. And it's like you can't change those couple.
Yeah,
right?
It'd be like something they'd be bummed if it didn't show up.
Exactly. But the rest of the course is all new, unique, different trail, moving around. And so we really try to keep it fresh year to year so that if you come to the same event every year, it's good to go. So, I think that, I heard there's a crew coming to our Illinois event there in Campsville from Vortex. So you might have to figure out how you hide in the trailer or, fit in somebody's suitcase so that you can come and you can come experience what we're doing.
I can be very quiet. So I'll poke some air holes in the suitcase or something. Brandon, if a person wants to register, if they want to, check the events out, see what's in their area, where do they go to find that information?
Very simple, mountainarcheryfest.com. Everything's right there, everything you need to know. And if there's something you can't find, or there's an answer to a question you have that you can't find on the website, please throw us an email. We pride ourselves in returning emails very quickly. We do. My wife, who runs the back end of all of our registration and the back end of our website, is amazing at it knocking things out of the park. So either her or I will respond. And of course, you can catch us on Facebook, Instagram. We have a really cool community that we started this year, our Mountain Archery Fest family group. And that's a great place to go. And just, it's really a group. It's a page for all of us. It's not for me to talk to you. It's not all these different things. It is every bit about making sure that it's a community for all of us that have come or would like to come to a Mountain Archery Fest.
I love it. And I will add, some of these events, they're coming up. I mean, we're on the cusp of you kicking these things off. So when is the first event? When's the first one folks can sign up for?
So our first one is in Cave City, Kentucky, April 12th and 13th. And then we have a back-to-back one going to Rome, Georgia, April 19th and 20th. And then we have events every 2 weeks thereafter. So then we go to PA, then we go to Illinois, then we're going to Utah, then we go to Wyoming, then we go to Colorado, then Montana, and then back to Colorado for the Derek Wolf Invitational.
I love it. Awesome. Well, mountainarcheryfest.com. Sign up, enter code Vortex24, and that's capital VORTEX 24 for 15% off. The best deal you're going to get, Brandon. And
that's it.
We'll see you there. How's that sound?
Yes. I'd love to see everybody there. Have a great time till I see you. Be safe, travel safe, and I appreciate you having me on, Mark. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Brandon. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Man, if you're not fired up about shooting some foam, you probably don't bow hunt or shoot a bow. I don't know. This sounds like really cool stuff. So sign up again, mountainarcheryfest.com, Vortex24, code Vortex24. We'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, everybody. Bye.